Nation.
SMD Law is the official law firm of the Spartan Nation. Check them out on the interwebs at smdalaw.com or at 866-529-3537. No matter where you are in the state of Michigan, Upper Peninsula, Lower Peninsula, it doesn't matter. They have an office near you. So whether you need to send a letter to an annoying neighbor, or you're a criminal and you need defense, maybe you just have problems with elder law, check them out, smdalaw.com today. The official law firm of the Spartan Nation. Call them first. Then you act.
Welcome back, Spartan Nation. It's now time for the good, the bad, and the ugly with MSU Athletics. And when you're talking about the good, it's always this guy. Legendary State of Michigan Prep High School basketball and football coach, the great Coach Chuck Kinnear, longtime Spartan Nation contributor. How are you, El Great One?
I lost for words.
Hey, just let me ask you this. I know everywhere you go, you demand an introduction. Does anyone give you introductions like I do on Spartan Nation Radio?
No, Jesse, all you're missing is the bugles in the background, that's all.
I'm sorry, we'll get it better. By the way, I've got to tell you, how does Becky manage your ego now?
With a wheelbarrow, mostly. She's got to carry that around like that.
Coach, I got a lot I want to dig in on with you today. Let's start with MSU football recruiting. All of a sudden now you're seeing Purdue make a real strong push into the state. Nebraska. Kentucky just came and got a player out. Michigan just went and got a kid out that had Michigan State ties, fandom most of his life. Michigan State is at a very precarious place for the future. They're going to have an awesome defense this year, but then it's beginning to appear like they could be in a little bit of a rebuilding mode after this season. Your thoughts on the state of Spartan football recruiting? What do you think?
Well, the recruiting is always cutthroat out there, and whatever weakness that you may appear that you have, for instance, we were just saying they may be in a down mode again in this roller coaster wins and losses that they've had in the last few years. Next year, with the loss of so many talented players on defense, it's always going to be cutthroat, and it's always teams are going to use that against you. So, you saw that the supposed number one recruit in the state of Michigan went to Kentucky the other day, and Michigan didn't get him. Michigan State didn't get him. And it just goes to show you how your present state and what your future looks like as far as your record and your winning seasons in college football is going to be used against you. So you either got to win or you're going to lose. So, and you're just not going to get the players that you are hoping to get. So other teams are going to come in and scarf up what's there, and if you're not producing, you're going to lose out. So that's just the way it is.
Yeah, I totally agree, my friend. It's an interesting time, isn't it?
Oh, it is. It is really interesting. It was interesting. I thought that Michigan didn't really have a good toehold on the kid that went to Kentucky because under Harbaugh they are producing wins, but they're not getting the big wins. They're not winning the rivalry wins like they should, and that's just used against them. No championships for Harbaugh, so it's used against him too. So.
Coach, I want to ask you about something. You know this. I am very disturbed over what I think is a lack of integrity in college athletics. Schools are out there cheating. Coaches caught on video or caught on audio talking about cheating. Nobody's losing their jobs. And, now all of a sudden, it has become such a reckless mess. The John Beilein, who is a good man, and I thought he was the second best coach in the Big Ten, and I thought he was one of the top 5 coaches in all of college basketball.
Agreed.
He's a great human being. The guy leaves it and basically says, all the transfers, guys leaving early, then all the recruiting mess. I I think they're going to drive. The game is almost a circular fighting squad, shooting squad. Am I? Where am I wrong, Coach?
No, it's that factor of money that's involved, and there's so much money involved in college athletics that a lot of colleges will, and sometimes they just look the other way, just so that they win and they fill the seats. And it's got to be disheartening for the good people that are out there in coaching, like a Beilein, that you're doing all the right things, and still, you're losing out to the major recruits, not because you have an outstanding school in which to get a college education to further your life career, but it's all about winning, and it's all about exposure. And to do that, you've got that, and you didn't mention the seedier side, that a lot of the stuff that goes on in the AAU and that sort of thing. And it's all about the money. Get me the money, and that's the most important thing. And we have a tendency, I think, in our society today to look past the honorable for the money. And it's an ugly situation, and it's not going to get better soon.
I'm going to say this to you, Coach. I think, guys who do it right in recruiting like Beilein and Izzo, and let me just say this. I think there are other coaches that do it right, but not at this level. I need to rephrase that because that didn't come out. There are other coaches of integrity than John Beilein and Tom Izzo who coach at Power 5 schools. Okay, that's clear.
But when you're talking about the national championship levels that those coaches are
correct.
Involved with,
they are the exception, not the rule.
Yeah.
They are the exception and not the rule. That's why I'm glad this trial brought out some stuff at Duke. I think Duke has had a very pristine reputation that, in my opinion, was not deserved. But that's another story for another day.
And the chickens will come home to roost.
Right. But my point is, I think when you're good coaches at a very top level, you're going after a certain pool of players. Tom Izzo and John Beilein are not going after the same players that Rutgers is. And they're not going after the same players of other schools. But they're going to go in the same pool of guys that there are certain schools who either, I believe, currently are or certainly have a strong reputation of cheating. And when they have to go against those guys, and they're not going to pay. Just not going to do it. I think you're going to force good guys out of the game. I'm going to tell you this. I think Tom Izzo will leave Michigan State. Now, you know this because you've been around me a long time, and you've been around me and him. Tom Izzo and I are very good friends. And I'm just going to tell you this. I believe Tom Izzo will eventually retire from Michigan State before he is ready to just walk away from the game because he loves it, but because of all the filth around it. I'm for transfers because coaches are making all this money, and there are coaches who have not let guys transfer or whatever. So because coaches abuse the system, we've got to do it more like they're doing it now. But the way they're doing it now, Coach, with so many players going, it's almost become free agency. You had to do something because not the coaches like Izzo and Beilein, but so many others were acting the way they were. This has just become college sports. I said it earlier, I'll say it again, has become a circular firing squad.
Well, you can't swim in muddy water without getting dirt on you, or even the aspersions of dirt. So I can understand where Coach Izzo is at on that one, where he's doing and trying and succeeding and doing the best he can and staying mud-free. But there's always going to be someone out there, and just like we talked about a few minutes ago with the recruiting for football, the recruiting and how other schools use it against you, it's just out there. And people that need to succeed in any way which they can will cast the aspersions upon any program. So I can understand a Beilein leaving because it's I'm doing everything right and they're getting away with it. So I understand completely.
Totally agree, Coach. Last question from you. During this off season now, we're very close next month, all the camp season. I like the way Coach D'Antonio wants kids to come to camp to evaluate them. Just your thoughts on that idea of, hey, let's get a kid in camp here. Mark D'Antonio's done a terrific job of getting kids in who are under the radar and developing them. How big is this camp season for Michigan State's future?
Well, I think it's pretty huge. And, to find those diamonds in the rough, those pearls that are out there, in the recruiting system for the high school football players is becoming so sophisticated. We were talking just yesterday about Bart Starr has just died, and that he was a draft pick, like he was a number 20 draft pick or something, the 20th draft pick of the Green Bay Packers. It's just the college system has become so sophisticated, and it is so huge at this time. Some players do slip under the radar. And to get those players in and to actually see them compete against other players that are classified as at the elite level, that is really huge to find those pearls that are out there. And they've grown over the course of the years. D'Antonio has made a living off of that, finding those players out there.
Coach, I got to ask, I had an email from a listener that wants to know, why are you not on Twitter?
Well, I'm so tech advantaged right now, or disadvantaged right now. What's Twitter? What is that?
He's the great Coach Chuck Kinnear, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We'll be back. Here, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We'll be back.